until the release of the movie. That's right, double digits. And the first reviews for Prince Caspian have been online for about a week now, mostly on IMDb. They did hold a pre-screening of it, and so that been kind of talking about them in the forum for about a week. But just a few days ago, Fantasia Kitty evidently finally decided that there was enough to actually justify posting a story about it. And also Douglas Gresham, wrote in and posted a little something too, which you can read on Narnia Web. But I'm going to put a little disclaimer at the front of this video right now. I'm not going to keep saying it over and over. There's no way of knowing how accurate or inaccurate any of this stuff is. First off, it's on IMDb. They might not have even seen the movie. They might just be screwing with us. And they might have seen the movie and they're still screwing with us. And also, the movie wasn't even finished. People are still wearing green pants in the movie. The music is probably temp. The voices might even be temp, And they also might change things, before the movie is even released. So there's no way of knowing how much this reflects what we're going to see in the final film or how honest these people are being. I'm just going to say that once. But for the sake of discussion, I'm going to assume that all this is true, just so that we can talk about it and the implications of it. Let's just assume all of it's true, even though I doubt all of it is, But let's talk about some of the issues that have come up with these first reviews. And first off, one of the biggest ones is the reasons behind the night raid. According to some of the reviewers, they kind of disagree on this one, but there appear to be two motivations behind the night raid, which according to Ernie Malick takes place right in the middle of the film. Number one, it's to rescue Dr. Cornelius, who is imprisoned. In the book, he's not in prison, but apparently in the movie, he's going to be imprisoned. We'd heard rumors about someone being in prison. We thought it was Caspian or Trumpkin or Cornelius, but now we know, if this review is right, that it's Cornelius. And the other one is to kidnap Miraz's son, which is pretty darn disturbing. That just sounds too intense for Narnia to me. It's like kidnap a kid, and we're just going way off book here, And so I'd be very, very uncomfortable with that for sure. But then one reviewer said that they didn't remember anything about that, and so maybe it's something that they can cut out, or maybe the reviewer's mistaken. I don't know. Dr. Cornelius being imprisoned, however, I'm actually comfortable with that idea, simply because it looks like they've cut out Nurse. Sad but true. But you think we would have heard something as far as casting by now, if Nurse was in the film, and we haven't, which is so sad because that's such a great emotional scene in the book when Caspian is reunited with Nurse. It's so sad that it's been cut. But Nurse plays an important role in that, Miraz's first scene, he's seen sending Nurse away for telling Caspian stories. So we get to see Miraz right at the bat stamping out old Narnia, which is such a big theme for his characters. He wants to stamp out the memory of old Narnia. So, it's really important. And so this is where Cornelius is kind of pushed into that role, where he gets to be the example of, someone who's trying to tell about old Narnia, and, he's being, pushed away, saying no, trying to stamp out the memory of old Narnia is an important theme. And so that's why I'm not completely opposed to Cornelius being imprisoned. And if that is the reason behind the night raid, which seems likely, at least there's a good reason for the night raid. It's not just this let's go off and have a big action scene, let's attack Miraz. So at least there's a good reason for it. So I feel a little better about the night raid, even though the big thing with these big action sequences is there's just so many other things in the book I would rather see than a big action sequence. Like kind of the same with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like I thought the battle was really well done artistically, and consistent with the book, and that we know there was a battle, and that's based on what we know what happened. The battle was accurate in the movie, and I thought it was a really well done battle. But there were so many other things in the book that I would have rather seen. I would have rather seen more of Aslan restoring the statues. They cut out almost all of chapter 16 in exchange for that action sequence. And that's what my thing with the night raid is. There's just so many other things I would rather see than yet another epic fantasy battle sequence. So that's a big thing. But if it is to rescue Dr. Cornelius, that makes me feel a little better about the night raid, as far as the motivations at least. Although I never consider the night raid to be a dramatic change anyway, just because we know there are battles that Lewis kind of skims over in Prince Caspian. He covers a large amount of time in like a paragraph, saying they were fighting and fighting and fighting. So the only change here is that the Pevensies are there. That's kind of the only change, that the Pevensies get there early. So I never thought of the night raid as a huge change story-wise. It's just there's other things I'd rather see than a big action sequence. Obviously, one of the big issues, there's a full description. We don't know if it's accurate, but full description of the White Witch scene. And I'll just, you can read for yourself. I'll just skim over it. Basically, Nick and Rick introduces the hag and the werewolf, and Caspian is weirded out at first. Then they kind of talk about their plan of Aslan can't help us, we need someone else. Then they start, they say, oh, here's an ancient relic, and they have the witch's wand. They start calling her up, and Caspian's not really sure what's going on. He's just kind of going along with it, And the witch comes up, and she actually speaks and says something about, I I know your father, Caspian, or whatever, and I need blood to bring me back. And then someone runs up and cuts Caspian's hand, which is we assumed when we saw. It's kind of funny. People were trying to speculate. Well, maybe it's just a battle wound. No, I think it was pretty obvious from the beginning that that was a ceremonial thing. Get the blood on Caspian's hand, and so someone actually runs up and cuts Caspian's hand, and then Caspian's about to reach out. Then the Pevensies choose that moment to barge in, and Edmund actually breaks the witch's ice, and then you hear Aslan's roar, kind of reminiscent of Tumnus's fire in the first movie. And first off, I want to say that this scene is sounding more and more comic booky. Like, it's the Spider-Man movies. The writers know that Spider-Man couldn't kill anybody. You can't have Spider-Man kill somebody. That would just go against everything about who he is in the comic book. So you can't do that. So Spider-Man's villains always die either by accident or at least or they become good guys. It's always not by Spider-Man's hand at least. And so, not that I hate comic book movies, but like not in Narnia. And so it's like Caspian. They know that Caspian would never do that. That he'd never do something so evil, like calling up the witch like that. And so instead, they're having it to be he wasn't really. He didn't really know what was going on, just kind of going along with it, Oh, my hand's cut. Oh, what happened there? It seems to sound more and more ridiculous. Then Edmund smashing the witch's ice. We can assume that's kind of supposed to be reminiscent of when he breaks the witch's wand in the first movie, and that's actually the first semi-good news about the scene we've heard. I mean, at least they're trying to. Such an important theme in Prince Caspian is the past coming back to help the present, and the myth becoming real. Kind of an important theme in all the books, I guess, but no more so than in Prince Caspian. And so that's at least an interesting approach of kind of Caspian seeing almost seeing history reenacted before his eyes. That's at least kind of interesting, although it's one of these scenes where it's like there's so many weird things. They're having to kind of bend over a lot to make the scene work. Maybe this scene just isn't meant to be. Like that's the message I would get. I just really don't like this scene. I think it's really not just bad adaptation. It just sounds like a really stupid scene. That's all. That's the big thing. And how does the movie start? That was obviously a big question. We kind of knew that it started with, we knew that it started with, something in Narnia, the Caspian side. One reviewer says that it begins with the birth of Miraz's son, which is an interesting way to open it. And I believe it was my third video, where I said that the biggest issue with Prince Caspian was the timeline and the chronology, and are they going to include any flashbacks, and how are they going to sort that out? And I don't think we're really going to fully understand what they've done until we actually see the movie. But this makes me think that maybe because we know that Caspian blows the horn, or we believe Caspian blows the horn earlier than he does in the book. Like right after he flees the castle, he's pursued by Telmarines and chooses that moment to blow the horn. So maybe there's actually some kind of they actually, before we even see the Pevensies in the movie, it starts out with Miraz's son being born, then Caspian having to flee, and then blowing the horn. Then it transitions to the Pevensies and sets them up and then shows them get whisked away to Narnia. So it's almost in chronological order that way. And which some of the earliest setup with Prince Caspian, maybe Trumpkin would explain that, So maybe that's what they've done here. So this will be a very, very interesting to see, because it's kind of a complicated issue. You won't really understand how they've done it until we see it in the final film. So but I'm curious. Starting the film off with Miraz's son being born seems like a really interesting opening. I'm curious. Why do Peter and Caspian fight? One reviewer just says they disagree about strategy. It's a power struggle type of thing. That makes it sound like that they actually are going, all out fighting, trying to kill each other, which is extremely annoying. This takes away from that reverence. If Thomas Edison came back and I disagreed with him about something about electricity, I would not get into an argument. I'd be like, whatever. Well, Mr. Edison, I think there might be a better way. He's Thomas Edison. I'd have such a reverence for that, and I'd be so in awe of that. I would never want to fight with him. And so that's, although it still could be that they're just disagreeing, a power struggle, that it's not an all-out fight, But it looks like I'm out of time. I'm not going to be able to. Maybe I'll do a new video soon and talk about a couple more issues that have come up. But keep in mind that this version of the film, this is talking about an unfinished version of the film here. The films take time. Rome wasn't built in a day, So, film's not done yet, so always keep that in mind. 91 days to go. Got our first reviews, and maybe pretty soon I'll post another video with some more thoughts we have from these reviews.